The night was thick with smoke, the kind that clung to your throat and made every breath feel like a battle. Somewhere in the distance, a city burned. Gunfire rattled like an endless drumbeat, echoing across the scorched horizon. Men shouted in tongues of fury and fear, their silhouettes darting between sandbags and armored vehicles, ghosts in the chaos of war. And in the heart of it stood Ibrahim Traoré, his uniform caked with dust, his eyes burning not with fear, but with something stronger, duty. He had been many things in his life, a soldier, a commander, a son of his homeland. But here, in the shattered ruins of this battlefield, he was more than a fighter. He was the anchor, the unshaken ground in a storm that wanted to swallow every man around him. The men of the Gaddafi corps looked to him when the sky rained bullets. They looked to him when despair whispered in their ears. And tonight, they looked to him as the darkness of death closed in. Beside him fought his closest man, the one the corps nicknamed Lion. He wasn't called that for vanity. He had the courage of one, the roar of one, and the loyalty of one. Together, Ibrahim and Lion were a force to be reckoned with. The kind of brothers war itself forged in its furnace of fire and blood. Where one went, the other followed. Where one stood, the other would never fall alone. But war has a way of testing even the strongest of bonds. It happened in a blink, so fast that Ibrahim almost missed it. One moment, Lion was charging forward, his weapon cutting through the night like thunder. The next, the ground beneath him erupted in a violent explosion, a buried mine. The shockwave hurled him into the air like a rag doll before slamming him back down into the dirt. Dust and shrapnel clouded the air, and the battlefield seemed to freeze for a split second as a scream cut through the noise. Ibrahim's chest clenched. "Lion!" he shouted, his voice raw, his legs already moving before thought could catch up. He ran through the chaos, bullets slicing the air, men yelling for cover, the acrid stench of burning fuel clawing at his lungs. But none of it mattered. The only thing he could see was his brother in arms, lying broken on the ground, blood soaking through his uniform, his body trembling with shock. Lion's eyes met his, wide with pain, but still burning with that stubborn fire. He tried to push himself up, but his legs refused him. A jagged piece of metal was buried deep in his side, and blood poured out in a river that painted the dirt black. "Ibrahim," he gasped, his voice faint. "Leave me. Go. They'll surround you." But Ibrahim's jaw tightened. He dropped to his knees, his hands already pressing hard against the wound, his eyes refusing to blink. "Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare talk like you're already gone. You're not leaving me here, you hear me?" His voice was both a command and a plea, as if he could order death itself to back away. Around them, the world roared. Enemy fire lit the night in violent streaks, shouts of men charging closer, footsteps pounding, shadows closing in. Ibrahim could feel the ground trembling under the weight of advancing troops. He knew what staying here meant. It meant death for both of them, but in that moment his heart made a vow. He would not leave Lion, not alive, not dead. If death wanted him, it would have to take both. He slung Lion's arm over his shoulders, his muscles screaming as he hauled the man up. Lion groaned in agony, every breath a stab of fire in his lungs. But Ibrahim refused to listen. With one arm steadying his brother and the other gripping his rifle, he began to move, step by heavy step, dragging them both through hell. "Traoré, you can't. I'll slow you down." Lion gasped, his words breaking with pain, but Ibrahim cut him off sharply. "You've carried me through worse. Now it's my turn. So shut up and hold on." The ground erupted again as mortars pounded nearby. Shards of earth and fire rained down, scorching his skin, but Ibrahim kept moving. His body was a furnace of pain, his breath ragged, his mind burning with a single thought. Keep him alive, keep him breathing. Every step felt like an eternity, but his will was unshakable. They stumbled into the ruins of a collapsed wall, Ibrahim half carrying, half dragging Lion into the shadows. He pressed him down gently, pulling off his scarf and wrapping it tight around the wound. Blood seeped through, staining his hands, but he refused to let panic take over. "Stay with me, Lion. Look at me. Keep your eyes open." Lion's gaze flickered, fighting to stay conscious. His lips trembled into a faint grin, even through the agony. "You're stubborn as hell. And you talk too much," Ibrahim shot back, forcing a smirk, even as fear gnawed at his chest. He tore open his water canteen, trickling drops onto Lion's lips, praying it would keep him tethered to life. All the while, his ears tuned to the sounds around them. The approaching footsteps, the whispers of enemy scouts sweeping closer. Time was running out. He glanced back at Lion, the brother he had fought beside through countless battles, the man who had never left his side, and in that glance was the weight of years. The laughter they'd shared in stolen moments of peace, the scars they had bandaged for each other, the dreams of a homeland free from chains. This wasn't just a comrade, this was family. And Ibrahim knew deep in his bones that family is not abandoned. The decision came like lightning. He would not wait for rescue. He would carve their way out with his own hands if he had to. He pulled Lion closer, whispering fiercely, "I'll get you out. I swear on my life, you'll see the sunrise again." Lion's voice cracked. "If you fall, then I'll fall carrying you," Ibrahim interrupted. His grip on his rifle tightened, his eyes hard as steel. "But I won't fall." The night around them shook with new gunfire, closer now, a sign the enemy was circling. Ibrahim braced himself, adjusting Lion's weight, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. He was a soldier. He was a commander. But above all, in this moment, he was a brother, and nothing, not bullets, not fire, not death itself, was going to take that away from him. And then he moved. The weight of another man's life is heavier than any weapon. Ibrahim knew this now more than ever, every step sinking into the dirt as though the earth itself wanted to hold him back. Lion's body was draped over his shoulders, half conscious, bleeding, trembling. His blood soaked into Ibrahim's uniform, hot and sticky, carrying the metallic scent of iron that clung to his nostrils. Each drop that fell felt like time slipping away, a reminder that he was racing not just against the enemy, but against death itself. The night had no mercy. Tracer bullets streaked across the sky, turning darkness into a violent theater of light. Every burst of gunfire seemed to be aimed directly at them, as though fate had marked them out in the chaos. Ibrahim's eyes darted across the battlefield, searching for shadows to duck into, ruins to shelter in. His mind was working faster than his body, calculating every turn, every risk. One wrong move and both their names would be swallowed by the dirt. Lion groaned against him, his breath ragged, his voice hoarse. "You should have left me. Commanders don't carry the wounded on their backs." Ibrahim clenched his jaw, sweat dripping down his brow despite the cool night air. Commanders don't abandon their men. Not now. Not ever. His words were sharp, defiant, but beneath them was fear. Fear that he was speaking promises he might not be able to keep. The ruins of an abandoned outpost loomed ahead, a skeleton of stone walls scorched black by flames. Ibrahim pushed forward, his muscles screaming, his legs buckling but refusing to collapse. He ducked inside, setting Lion down against the wall as gently as he could, though the wounded man still gasped in agony. Ibrahim pressed his palm against the wound again, blood seeping between his fingers. He gritted his teeth. It was bad. Too bad for just makeshift bandages. He needed proper medical care, but that was miles away, beyond enemy lines. "Stay with me," Ibrahim muttered, his voice low but commanding, as if his tone alone could keep Lion tethered to life. "Breathe, damn it. Just breathe." Lion's eyes fluttered, glassy and unfocused. His lips moved, forming words Ibrahim could barely catch. Why risk it all? If you die here with me, the cause will live because of what we stand for. Ibrahim cut him off, his eyes fierce. And what we stand for is brotherhood. Loyalty, sacrifice. That's worth more than one man's survival. He pressed harder on the wound, ignoring Lion's flinch. "Don't think you're leaving me behind." Not tonight. The footsteps drew closer. 3, 4 men, maybe more. He could hear their laughter, cruel and careless, as they moved through the rubble. Ibrahim's finger curled around the trigger, but he knew the truth. He couldn't fight them all, not while carrying Lion. If he fired, it would only draw more. Stealth was his only hope. Lion's hand twitched weakly, reaching for Ibrahim's arm. His voice was a whisper, barely audible. "Leave me. Save yourself." Ibrahim turned to him, eyes blazing, and leaned down close enough for Lion to feel the heat of his words. "You don't get to make that choice." "Not while I'm still breathing." He squeezed his hand tightly. "Hold on to me. Hold on to life. I'll fight the whole damn world if I have to." The footsteps paused just outside. Ibrahim held his breath, his body tense, every muscle coiled to strike if the shadows crossed the threshold. Seconds stretched into eternities. Then, mercifully, the voices moved away, fading into the night. He exhaled slowly, his pulse still racing. The danger wasn't gone, but fate had given him a moment, and he wasn't going to waste it. He turned back to Lion, who was shivering now, his face pale, his body fighting to stay conscious. Ibrahim brushed the dust from his forehead, his voice softening, though his eyes still burned. "You remember when we first met? You were cocky as hell, thought you were the strongest man alive. I laughed at you. Do you remember?" Lion's lips curved into a faint, pained smile. "And then, I beat you in arm wrestling." Ibrahim chuckled, though it was hollow, forced against the weight pressing on his chest. "Only because I let you. I didn't want to crush your ego in front of the others." He grabbed Lion's hand, squeezing it tight. "You're still that man. Strong, unbreakable. You don't get to give up now." Lion coughed, blood flecking his lips, but his eyes held a flicker of that old fire. "You always talk too much. And you always complain too much," Ibrahim shot back, a grin tugging at the corners of his mouth. It was small, fragile, but it was enough to remind both of them of who they were: soldiers, brothers, survivors. The respite couldn't last. Outside, the battle raged on, louder now, the enemy tightening its grip. Ibrahim knew staying here was suicide. He had to move, had to get Lion out before the circle closed completely. He tore a strip of cloth from his uniform, reinforcing the bandage around the wound, then slung Lion over his shoulders once more. His body screamed in protest, his knees threatening to buckle, but his resolve was iron. He would carry him if it meant crawling through fire. Step by step, he moved again, slipping through alleys of rubble, hugging the shadows like an old friend. Every noise made his pulse race, every flash of light threatened to reveal them. But his focus never wavered. The world had shrunk to one mission: keep Lion alive. At one point, a sudden burst of gunfire forced him to drop to the ground, shielding Lion's body with his own. Bullets tore through the wall above them, spraying shards of stone. He held still, barely breathing, his heart pounding like a drum. When the firing stopped, he lifted his head slowly, scanning the horizon. Clear, for now. Lion stirred against him, his voice weak but determined. "You're going to get yourself killed." Ibrahim looked down at him, his expression unyielding. "Then I'll die fighting for you. That's a better death than living without you." The words silenced Lion, his eyes glistening with something unspoken. Gratitude, sorrow, love, loyalty all at once. For a moment, despite the chaos, there was peace between them. A bond unbreakable, forged not just in war, but in sacrifice. But peace was fleeting. The night exploded again with the sound of approaching vehicles, engines growling, headlights cutting through the dark. The enemy was everywhere, and escape was closing like a fist. Ibrahim tightened his grip on Lion, his teeth gritted, his body trembling under the weight of exhaustion. Yet his eyes never dimmed. He would fight through hell itself. And in that moment, with death circling them like vultures, Ibrahim Traoré made a vow louder than any gunfire. "As long as I breathe, you will live. As long as I stand, you will never fall. And no force in this world will take you from me." And with that, he pressed forward into the jaws of the storm. The night sky was painted in fire, flares burst overhead, glowing red against the smoke-choked clouds, and for a heartbeat, Ibrahim felt as though he was marching beneath a burning heaven. His lungs ached, every muscle in his body was on the edge of collapse, but he kept moving, Lion's weight a constant reminder on his shoulders. Each step was a war in itself, but he would not surrender. Not here. Not now.
Lion stirred, his voice a faint whisper in Ibrahim's ear. You can't carry me forever. Ibrahim tightened his grip on him, his jaw set. I'll carry you until the sun burns out if I have to. His tone was sharp, but inside, fear gnawed at him like a relentless rat. He could feel how weak Lion had become, his breaths shallow, his body limp. He knew he was losing time. Every second wasted was another drop of life slipping away. A flash of headlights cut through the ruins ahead. Ibrahim ducked behind a broken wall, lowering Lion carefully into the shadows. The rumble of engines grew louder, armored trucks, enemy patrols sweeping the sector. He peered through a crack in the wall, his eyes narrowing. At least a dozen soldiers spilled out, their weapons gleaming, their voices harsh in the night air. They were setting up a perimeter, tightening the net. Ibrahim's chest tightened. If they were caught here, there would be no escape. Lion's hand twitched weakly against his arm. His voice was hoarse, almost gone. Go. Leave me here. You'll live. Ibrahim spun toward him, his eyes blazing. Stop saying that. You think I fight for medals? You think I fight for glory? Number. I fight for the man beside me. I fight for you. His voice shook, not with fear, but with raw, unfiltered emotion. If I walk away now, then what am I? Nothing. Just another coward hiding behind excuses. And you know that's not me. Lion's eyes glistened, and for a moment the battlefield seemed to vanish. They were back in the barracks years ago, laughing after drills, trading stories of home, promising each other they'd see peace one day. He remembered Lion saying, "If you ever fall, I'll carry you." And Ibrahim had laughed, clapping him on the back. "Then, I'll make sure I never fall." Now those words burned inside him, fueling every desperate step. The soldiers outside grew restless. One of them barked an order, and flashlights began sweeping the ruins. Ibrahim's pulse quickened. He couldn't stay here. He needed a distraction. Quietly, he laid Lion against the wall, brushing his hand against his shoulder. "Stay still. Trust me." Lion tried to protest, but Ibrahim was already moving. He slipped into the darkness, crawling through the rubble like a predator stalking prey. Every sound was magnified. The crunch of gravel beneath his boots, the click of a safety being released, the distant cries of wounded men. He reached the edge of the perimeter, where a supply crate sat half open, filled with fuel canisters. His lips pressed into a thin line. This would have to do. He pulled a grenade from his belt, his thumb running across the metal like a prayer bead. With a deep breath, he yanked the pin and rolled it into the crate. Seconds stretched like hours. Then the world exploded. Fire roared into the night, a column of flame devouring the trucks and soldiers nearby. Shouts of panic tore through the air, men scrambling, smoke choking the sky. Ibrahim didn't wait to watch. He sprinted back into the ruins, his lungs screaming, his mind fixed on one thing: Lion. He found him slumped against the wall, his eyes fluttering open at the sound of Ibrahim's boots. What? What did you do? Created a miracle, Ibrahim muttered, slinging him back over his shoulders. Now hold on. We've got our window. Through the smoke and chaos he moved, slipping between shadows, each step fueled by sheer willpower. The enemy was disoriented, their attention torn by the blaze. It was the opening Ibrahim needed, but it was narrow, fragile. One wrong move, and it would close forever. Lion's head rested weakly against his back, his breath shallow. "You're insane." "Maybe," Ibrahim muttered, his lips curling into a grim smile. "But insanity keeps us alive." They pushed on, deeper into the ruins, away from the flames. For a brief moment, silence returned, broken only by the distant rumble of the battle and the rasp of Ibrahim's breathing. He ducked into an old stone corridor, its walls cracked and crumbling, the ceiling half collapsed. It was shelter, temporary at least. He lowered Lion gently to the ground, kneeling beside him. The blood had soaked through the bandages again, dark and heavy. Ibrahim's stomach knotted. He needed to stop the bleeding, but with what? His supplies were nearly gone. His hands trembled as he pressed on the wound, his voice breaking into a whisper. "Stay with me, brother. Just a little longer." just until we see the stars fade. He tore another strip of cloth from his sleeve, tightening it around the wound, though it was a poor substitute for real aid. Lion's eyes opened slowly, hazy but searching. Why? Why do you fight so hard for me? Ibrahim froze, his throat tightening. Memories flooded him. Of battles fought side by side, of nights spent under the open sky, dreaming of a homeland free from fear, of laughter shared in the rare quiet moments between storms. He swallowed hard. Because you fought for me first. Because every time I doubted myself, you reminded me who I was. Because you're my brother, Lion. Not by blood, but by choice. And that bond is stronger than death. Lion's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, his lips trembling into the faintest smile. Then, if I don't make it, you will, Ibrahim snapped, his voice fierce. Don't you dare say otherwise. You will. But even as he spoke, a part of him trembled with dread. He could feel how fragile Lion's life had become, like a candle guttering in the wind. He pressed his forehead against Lion's, closing his eyes. I'll fight the wind. I'll fight the storm. I'll fight the whole world if I have to. But you will not die here. Outside, the chaos was fading. The enemy was regrouping, their shouts growing organized again. Time was slipping away. Ibrahim clenched his fists, forcing himself to stand. His body was battered, his spirit fraying, but his resolve was a blade sharper than any steel. He bent down, lifting Lion once more, the weight heavy but welcome. As he stepped back into the night, he whispered to himself, to Lion, to the world, I am Ibrahim Traoré. And no man, no army, no fate will take my brother from me. And with that, he marched into the darkness, the sound of distant gunfire guiding him toward the final trial that awaited. The horizon was beginning to pale, the first hints of dawn brushing the smoke-filled sky with streaks of gray. But for Ibrahim, the night wasn't ending. It was only getting darker. His body screamed with every step, his legs numb, his back nearly breaking under Lion's weight. And yet he moved, because to stop was to surrender. And surrender was not in his blood. The ruins gave way to open ground, a stretch of barren earth leading toward the distant tree line. Beyond those trees, Ibrahim knew, was safety. A hidden route used by the Corps. One that could lead them back to friendly lines. But the distance between here and there felt like a lifetime, especially with enemy patrols scouring the land like wolves hunting prey. Lion stirred weakly against his shoulder, his voice faint, a shadow of what it once was. You can't make it. Too far. Too far doesn't exist, Ibrahim growled, tightening his grip. There is only forward. As long as I take one more step, we're closer. Lion's head sagged, his breath shallow. Ibrahim glanced at him, fear coiling in his chest like a serpent. He was fading, fast. Panic clawed at Ibrahim's mind, but he forced it down. Fear was poison. Action was life. He had to move. A sudden crack split the silence. A bullet slammed into the dirt inches from his boots, spraying dust into the air. Ibrahim froze, his eyes snapping to the ridge ahead. Silhouettes appeared against the rising light. Enemy soldiers, rifles raised, shouting as they spotted him. His heart pounded. He was exposed, a target painted in blood and desperation. With Lion on his shoulders, he couldn't run fast enough, couldn't fight as he normally would. But leaving Lion was unthinkable. The first volley of gunfire erupted. Ibrahim dropped to his knees, shielding Lion with his body, the earth exploding around them in bursts of dust and stone. He clenched his teeth, rage burning through the exhaustion. He would not die here. Carefully, he lowered Lion to the ground, his hands shaking as he pressed the rifle into his own shoulder. He rose halfway, using the ruins of a broken pillar for cover, and unleashed a storm of fire. Each shot was precise, fueled not by cold calculation, but by fiery determination. One soldier fell, then another. The rest scattered, seeking cover, shouting in alarm. But there were too many. Too many rifles, too many eyes. Ibrahim knew he couldn't hold them all off forever. His breath came in ragged gasps, sweat stinging his eyes, but he kept firing, each bullet a promise. You will not touch him. You will not take him. Behind him, Lion's voice broke through the chaos, weak but steady. Go. Leave me. Fight them without me. Don't die for me. Ibrahim spun, his eyes blazing. Don't you understand? You are the reason I fight. You are the reason I'm still standing. If I let you die, then I die too, whether my body falls or not. His voice cracked, raw and unguarded. So shut up and let me save you. The soldiers advanced again, bullets whistling through the air. Ibrahim's magazine clicked empty. He cursed under his breath, ripping another from his pouch with trembling hands. But as he slammed it into place, a mortar round exploded nearby, the shockwave hurling him backward. His ears rang, his vision blurred. For a moment, he thought the world had ended.
Through the haze, he saw Lion lying limp, dust coating his face, blood pooling beneath him. Something primal tore from Ibrahim's chest, a roar that shook the very marrow of his bones. Pain forgotten, he lunged forward, dragging Lion into his arms. The enemy was closing in, their shadows long against the rising dawn, but Ibrahim's spirit was fire. He pressed Lion against the ground, shielding him with his body, and fired again, his shots wild but unrelenting. Every trigger pull was a heartbeat, every heartbeat a vow. Bullets grazed his arms, ripped through his uniform, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Then, salvation. From the tree line ahead, figures emerged, familiar uniforms, familiar shouts. The corps, reinforcements, they swept forward like a tide, their rifles barking, their voices rallying. The enemy, caught between Ibrahim's fury and the corps' advance, faltered. Panic spread through their ranks. Within minutes, they were retreating, swallowed by the smoke and the chaos. Ibrahim collapsed to his knees, his rifle slipping from his hands. Relief crashed over him like a wave, but it was short-lived. He turned back to Lion, whose eyes fluttered open, barely clinging to consciousness. "You see?" Ibrahim whispered, his voice trembling with exhaustion and triumph. "I told you. I'd get you to the sunrise." Lion's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Stubborn bastard." The medics rushed forward, lifting Lion onto a stretcher, shouting for supplies. Ibrahim tried to rise, but his body refused, every muscle giving way. He sank to the dirt, his vision swimming, his breath shallow. He had given everything, every ounce of strength, every drop of will. But he had kept his promise. Lion was alive. As they carried his brother away, Ibrahim's eyes closed. The sounds of battle faded, replaced by the rhythm of his own heartbeat. In that heartbeat was pride. In that heartbeat was victory, not over an enemy, but over despair, over fate, over the cruel hand of war. Hours later, when the camp was quiet and the wounded lay under canvas tents, Ibrahim sat by Lion's side. His body was bandaged, his skin pale, but he was alive. And that was enough. Lion stirred, his eyes opening slowly. "You should have left me." Ibrahim chuckled softly, shaking his head. "And you should know better than to argue with me. I told you, you're my brother. Brothers don't get left behind." Lion's gaze softened, his voice breaking. "Then, I owe you my life." "No," Ibrahim said firmly, his hand resting on Lion's shoulder. "We owe each other everything. That's what brotherhood means." The dawn light spilled into the tent, warm and golden, chasing away the shadows of the night. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Ibrahim allowed himself to breathe, to close his eyes and feel the weight lift from his shoulders. He had walked through hell, carrying another man's life on his back, and he had emerged on the other side. And though the war was far from over, though countless battles still lay ahead, Ibrahim Traoré knew one truth with absolute certainty. No matter how dark the night, no matter how fierce the storm, the bond of brotherhood would always carry them through, and in that truth there was hope.